Good morning, kiddos. We are going to move on to our next learning target today. And our next learning target is I will learn how to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is something in math that never goes away. You use it all the time. It's essentially a tool we use when we either can't factor or we don't want to factor. So the good thing about the quadratic formula is that it always works when you're dealing with quadratics. So yeah, we'll just hop right into it. So we'll go ahead and we'll title our notes the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula, so it comes from our standard form of quadratics, ax squared plus bx plus c. This is standard form. So the quadratic formula comes from when you solve for x. So that's a big, lengthy process. So when I was in school, we had to solve for x, and it was like 3 pages worth of work. So I want to be nice and not make you all do that. But when you solve for x, you get the quadratic formula, which is this. So the a, b, and the c value, they come from our original equation. And it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root. That's a horrible square root, Ms. Morgan. Square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I know that sounds like a lot. I do expect you to memorize the quadratic formula because it is so important in mathematics. It's very ACT heavy and things like that. The more you use this, I promise it's not as hard to memorize as it looks. Some people, when I was student teaching, we taught it using a song. So I'll sing the song for you to help you remember it. It's to the tune of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. So to help you remember it, it goes x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So if you can remember that, then you'll be good to go. So the thing about the quadratic formula is that it always works. That's why it's super duper handy. It's a little bit of a lengthy process, but it is like a surefire process where at the very end you will get an answer. You can get both rational and irrational solutions. We'll do some examples of both. But let's go ahead and hop right into it. So, example 1, let's say we have 25p minus 40p plus 16 equals 0. So these always have to equal 0 in order to work. Have your a, b, and your c value. This is your a, this is your b, and this is your c. So we're going to plug into the formula. X equals negative b. Our b value is negative 40 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the thing about this is you're really just plugging things into the formula and seeing what it spits out. I do caution plugging too much into the calculator at once will give you the wrong answer. So I recommend taking it step by step. So we're going to have x equals 40 plus or minus the square root. Where's the Morgan's calculator? Oh wait, she has notes here. So negative 140 squared is going to give us 160. Bring down our minus sign. 4 times 25 times 16. That's also going to give us 1600 all over 50. So then that's going to give us x equals 40 plus or minus the square root of 0 all over 50. And the square root of 0 is just 0. So then we're going to be able to split up our answers into 40 plus 0 over 50 and 40 minus 0 over 50. And then you're always going to want to simplify. So in this one, your answer is 4/5. Both of your answers are 2/5. So remember, quadratics, we're always dealing with at least we're dealing with 2 solutions. And in this one, they happen to be the same. That's called a double root, and that can happen. So yeah, these are your 2 answers for this one. The plus minus sign here just means you break it up into plus and break it up into minus in case we forgot that. Let's do another example. Let's do an irrational one. So let's say we have 5z squared minus 17z plus 10. We'll go ahead and we'll set that up. X equals negative 17 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, with our a, our b, and our c. So x is going to equal 17 plus or minus, let's see, negative 17 squared, that in a calculator that gives you 289, minus 4 times 5 times 10 is going to give us 200 over 10. Then we're going to solve that. X equals 17 plus or minus the square root of 89 over 10. So the square root of 89, that's not a perfect square, so our answer is going to have a radical in it, meaning it's irrational. We see if we can simplify this down any further, and we cannot. So this would be your answer. So you could either type it like this, or you could break it up into 2, and one of your answers could be 17 plus the square root of 89 over 10, and the other answer could be 17 minus the square root of 89 over 10. Either one of those would suffice. Okay. Let's do one more example, and then I'll give you all a couple to try. So we'll have 11p squared minus 17p minus 20 equals p squared. So remember, you're going to have to move over your p squared. So minus p squared, you'll have 10p squared minus 17p minus 20 equals 0. Then we're going to want to do the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4a, well, this should really be on the outside, 4ac all over 2a. Oh, and our a is 10. So x equals 17 plus or minus be 289 minus 4 times 10 times 20 is, I believe, 4 times 10 times 20 is 800. Yep. So it's going to be minus a negative 800. I brought down my minus sign. 4 times 10 times negative 20 is negative 800 all over 20. Then x is going to equal 17 plus or minus the square root of 1089 over 20. And then this is not one of the perfect squares that we know off the top of our head, but it is a perfect square, so always double check in your calculator, and you're going to get 17 plus or minus the square root of 1089 is 33 over 20. So then your answer would be 17 plus 33 over 20 and 17 minus 33 over 20. And you always want them in simplest form. So we are going to simplify that, and it's going to be x equals 5 over 2. And then using our calculator, we're going to get negative 4/5. And this would be your final answer. So if you were to plug these back into here, the equation would equal and all balance out. So that's what we're looking for, the solution. So if we were to graph this, where it would cross the y-axis. I'm sorry, the x-axis. I'm going to give you a couple to try on your own and their answers. That way you can check yourself before you hop into your practice. Oh wait, we already did that one. Disregard. Ms. Morgan changes up her notes in the middle of things. I don't know why I do that. So b squared plus 90 plus 7 equals negative 6. When you do that one, you should get negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 29 over 2. If you try, let's see, 4v squared plus 3v minus 1, that's going to equal 1/4 and negative 1. And then last one, you do 3v squared. Oh, I should mention. Up here it says p equals, and I have x equals. This could just be p, or you could substitute the p's for x's and vice versa. That doesn't really have an effect on anything. As long as it's in the quadratic form, then that's fine. Equals 6, I should get that. And that would be your answer for that one. So try those on your own, see if you get that answer, and then move on to your delta math practice. Hope you'll have a great day. I'll see you when I see you, and let me know if you